A very good afternoon to our lecturer, Prof. Abdullah, our lecturer for KNP 2013 Manufacturing Technology course. Today we'll be representing our alternative assessment, what we call Stormbreaker X. Stormbreaker X is basically an X that will enchant the shape. I will explain later in the next slide, but first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Justin Anakmadi with matrix number 70040, and my friend Macluson Anakmanti 70270. All right, this is basically a illustration what our X will look like. Okay, let's us jump to our first slide. First of all, let me introduce to you what is an X. What is an X? An X is an tool to chopping, shaping, or splitting wood. That is the basically what is an X all about. But through time, it is evolved to more than that. In some cases, in barbarian, an weapon. They use it for wars to defend themselves in the ancient time. And the purposes of an X, as we know just now, is for shaping, splitting, and chopping and X shaping. I'm sorry. But an X, there are um, there are a few like a minor X used for to break the mine core they use mine normal. Sure, and look, proceed to our next slide, which is the design of our X head design. In this alternative assessment, we try to make our X look like a Stormbreaker, just like how we call our title, Stormbreaker X. First of all, we model it into 3D, then we use a sand casting process to mold the model into a proper stainless steel X head. For now, let we go through the process. First of all, the process is called non-metal forming process. There are two steps in this. First of all is non-metal forming process. In firstly, we will design the exact model with AutoCAD. Then from after we finish modeling, then we will set the this model is I try to do it, and this is the final of design. This is the blade, and at the back here, at the opposite side is like look like an hammer, like a hammer, just like a Stormbreaker. Then I put my initial here just for fun, I guess. Then the next step is sand casting. I'm sorry, let me explain a bit more about just now. I'm sorry. Create exact model using 3D. That for us to create this 3D printer is resin. Resin is a material that used by 3D printer to make the model. Then we can create a physical model of this 3D of this head. Yeah, the material is resin. There are a few type more other than resin, but in this case we're using resin. After the FX is finished physically, then the next step is we collect metal scrap are collected. This metal scrap are stainless steel that we collected to become molten. And before it become molten, it was heated in a foundry cup. Foundry cup is basically a cup where you just heat it up until the metal scrap become molten, melt at a boiling temperature. and the boiling temperature for stainless steel is 1510 degrees Celsius. And basically the cup is made up of porcelain, which is the melting point is higher than that, so that the melting point does not melt during the process. After the metal is melt, then we prepare while the we heat the metal just now. I'm sorry. We prepare 2 mole with sand. The sand is for we where the process will take place, where the pouring process take place. 1 mole place with the pattern. Basically, pattern here meaning that the X head we just finished model the 3D X head with the 3D printer. Then we put the pattern inside 1 mole of sand. We the shape take place in the sand, in the mold sand. So that's why we use that 3D printer, the model just now. Basically, the one advantage of this 3D printer, we can basically use that shape again when we want to do this project one more time in the future, maybe. Then flash place over the second pattern, place over the pattern. I'm sorry about this. To I guess we can say to get from the shape to change from the pattern we want. After that, one more sand, just I mentioned just not early, there are 2 mole of sand. Then the other sand is dragged to the top of the sand casting to the top. Another sand is dragged into the top of this to eliminate the what we call empty space, so that there are closed space, and the only space that remaining is the shape of the pattern itself. After that, after that, the the metal scrap is melt, become molten metal. The name will become molten metal after the metal scrap is melt. Then we pour the molten metal through the gating system. The gating system here meaning that the empty pattern, the shape of the empty pattern. Then after we wait for a while until until the molten is cool, it will solidify the pattern itself. Then thus we will have the pattern. After we finish the pattern, we just do basically a basic process of what, like roughing the surface so it becomes shiny. We can sandpaper it so it becomes shiny. That is that is for our X head blade. Oh, the picture is shaking. And next, uh, like we know, an X will require 2 parts. That is the X head itself, and for you to hold it before you swing it. And the handle is we take and stainless steel rod product from stainless steel. You take that stainless rod, you will cut the stainless steel rod. I'm sorry, into using saw. Power hacksaw is explain to you what is power hacksaw later. This is example our stainless steel rod. It will be cut into our desired dimension, desired length. The stainless steel rod desired into our desired length. It will soon will undergoes lead machine process. I mean turning process. Turning process. The function of turning process is to cut the stainless steel rod into our desired diameter. We will use turning process in this. Thus, by to do this turning process, that's why we need lead machine. In lead machine, we can do other type of process, example facing, threading, and I forget the name, grouping, I guess the name. So there are a lot of process you can do with a lead machine. Basically, I have quite experience with handling lead machine. Then we will proceed what is the cutting process just now I mentioned by using power hacksaw. This is a sample of power hacksaw. As you can see, this steel bar. You put it in here, and you press the green button, and this power hacksaw will run automatically cut the steel rod. stainless steel rod. Why we using power hacksaw and not the usual, not the manual or the traditional saw, is because you can save your, it can save manpower, it can save your energy. That's why we're using this, and it, I think it much faster than we using our physical strength, because yeah, machine, right? Machine has a better strength than us. Yeah. Then after the stainless steel is cut into our desired dimension, our desired length, then we will bring that steel, we put it into a lathe machine. We put at the spindle chuck here, at the, here. This is example of the example of steel rod that been inserted into the spindle chuck. This spindle chuck need to be clamped properly and tightly to avoid the stainless steel rod from flying hit your head, or there are vibration become because you didn't tie it properly, and that is very dangerous. And by tightening up and properly clamp it, you can secure your safety while doing this turning process. And at here, uh, to the process is to the feed rate need to be in correct, with the correct speed. After you finish all of the turning process, basically you have to hit this with your leg to make it stop after you finish all the process, or you can push. uh, I see, it's over here. Oh, this one. This the I don't know how to say this, but this you just push it to below or up. The or That's it for the, and and remember all your mess, the scrap, that you has in here, get that here after you finish the turning process. This the part over here can be take out and just throw all the bits or the scrap you wrote here into the dustbin. Special bin to recycle the metal scrap heads, and one is stainless, and part will be representing by Mike Wilson.
Hi, my name is Mehulsin Menti, matrix number 70270. Today I will present about the joining process and the non-metal forming process for the stonebreaker. Stonebreaker is divided into four parts: the head, the outer shoulder, the inner handle, and the handle grip. Different parts require different joining process because they were made from steel, rubber, and steel, metal, and rubber only. The joining part that we choose to make the stonebreaker is the riveting, used to join the outer shoulder and the inner handle. Is metal arc welding, used to join the head and the handle. Threaded fastener, used to join the rubber grip and the handle knob. For the riveting, we choose to use the solid rivet. This is the diagram of the solid rivet. Is metal arc welding and threaded fastener. Riveting. For the joining process on the floor process, two holes on each part of the outer shoulder part are and the inner handle part were drilled parallelly to each other. A proper size of rivet was chosen for the hole, and then the outer shoulder part were attached and on both sides of the inner handle. Insert the solid rivet into each hole. The end of the shank of the solid rivet were then deformed by upsetting it or heading it. You can do this manually by using hammer or pneumatic solid rivet gun. Now the part become one handle part. This is the diagram for the riveting process. And for the gas metal arc welding, to start this process, firstly, insert the handle to the head tightly, then both parts will check to make sure if it fits tightly. Then set up the gas metal arc welding equipment, clamp the workpiece, then the welding process was started. After the welding process was started, remove the workpiece from the clamp, and check the weld strength of the workpiece, and remove slack from the weld zone. This is the diagram for the gas metal arc welding. Next is the threaded fastener. For this part, we choose screw as our threaded fastener. Two threaded holes will drill on both sides of the handle, and then choose a proper size of screw for the holes. Make sure it is not too long and not too short for the screw. Then the rubber grip will inserted to the handle knob. Screw both sides using the Phillips screwdriver. The strength of the screw will check to prevent the rubber grip from slip off the handle knob. This is the tools used for the thread fastener. A, a screw and a Phillips screwdriver. And for the non-metal forming process, we choose to use the injection molding because the part used was rubber. The rubber grip part were made from thermoplastic elastomer material. This is the thermoplastic elastomer pellet injection molding machine. To start this process, firstly, the material were been purchased. Pour the pellets into the hopper. The pellets were then melt by the heat chamber. After that, the melt pellet were then forced to be injected to the mold cavity. The mold cavity then been cooled so that the melt pellet can take the shape of the mold permanently. After that, the clamp was then pushed backward to release the product. This is the injection molding process from the pellet to the injection molding machine and the end product, which is the handle of the stormbreaker.
This we will see what is defect that normally occurred during casting and turning process. First of all, casting process. There defect can happen in casting process. Blowhole, porosity, occlusion, short pole, or mismatch. This happen due to many parameters that happen. Uh, it may happen because when they are not for it, so it not form a complete shape where you see here. They are remaining will not finish, or the pattern, the gifting system is blocked by somehow, and as you can see, it caused by blowhole can cause lead to it will be collapsed, or the product will be totally broken or damaged. Mismatch, maybe it happened when the two mold sand casting just now are not properly aligned with each other. Porosity basically when there are air inside the mold pattern. Okay, okay. Now we will see what is the defect that normally occur during turning process. There are not mass defect can occur, but it usually occur. There are no mass defects, but it usually mass of all the time. As you can see before you see the finishing surface, usually an experienced lead machinist, this is what is first job doing a lead machine. They will have a rough surface because they not they, maybe myself, because they don't have much experience in handling it and not correct. Maybe if the metal is thick, it make the speed is irrelevant, or when the stainless steel is thin, and you make the speed slow. For a better turning process, just the thicker metal, the slower the should be. Besides that, this normally occurred because of the tool bit are not sharp enough. You need to sharpen the process to make it reduce turning process basically to reduce the diameter of the stainless steel rod much bigger in diameter. That is a concern. You can only make it to reduce the diameter.
The riveting and prevention way. The effect for riveting was solid riveting was too buckling caused by a long rivet, and then the wrong size rivet. Size was too small for the hole. The rivet hole surface cracking. This was caused by the rivet hole were too close to the edge. A way of prevention. A proper length and size rivet were used. Holes were drilled far away from the edge. And the defect for the gas metal arc welding are porosity, its complete fusion and penetration, and also crack. The way of prevention is a welding speed was reduced, a proper electrode and filament method were chosen, the weld surface area was been cleaned before the welding process, the temperature of the base metal must be raised, the pressure of the shielding gas was adjusted, and the preheating of the material before the welding start. And the defect for the threaded fastener is the thread of the screw that was being used. And the way of prevention is number of the gap for the threaded holes must be equal with the screw to avoid the screw from being loose. And for the non-metal forming process, the defect for the injection molding is flash and wrapping. And the way of prevention this is the clamping force the clamping force in the mold cavity was increased. The mold temperature, pressure, and ventilation are adjusted to the material. Cooling process must be gradually and long enough to avoid wrapping. Adjust the temperature accordingly to the mold material.
Then we will proceed with the design consideration of the casting process. Casting process, there are four stages. The first is make a pattern tree. Basically, investment casting process is to make more than one product. It can make a lot of product, like a dozen of product in a time. So this is the example of the product. This is the product itself, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this just the what we call weight getting system with the screw up here, runner to where the motor will go through. And after that, shell making. Shell making is to protect the layer, the layer of this with protect protect the layer with ceramic slurry. After we what to say that shield it with this, we put the molten metal up here, where the molten metal will go through the getting system, will go through the runner getting system. It will go to this shape, this pattern, 1 2 3 4 5 6, the pattern just now. And we wait for a while, it will become solidified. The molten will solidify. Then we get the finished casting. We will break all the ceramic shell. I'm sorry, the ceramic slurry shell.
And for the design consideration, the learning process, we consider for the material used to make the X, which is the steel metal and the thermoplastic elastomer. Next, at the strength of the product. We want the product to be strong and durability. After that, this is the design of the product, the edge of every angle of the stonebreaker. For the non-metal forming process, the design consideration are the material, since we use the thermoplastic elastomer, we use the injection molding for this, and the design, which is hollow cylindrical design, the flexibility of the material.
Optimization of casting. Instead of using cast steel, we have thinking about doing iron, but uh, just the reason why we choose cast steel is because it can withstand corrosion, as we see here, stainless alloy. Cast steel, stainless steel is can withstand corrosion. That's why we choose it. The difference between cast iron and cast steel is the castability of cast iron is much more easy, and ease of machining of cast iron also is more easy because it much softer compared to steel. Vibration damping mean it can absorb vibration better than cast steel, just like the Captain America shield. But yeah, it's not that great, and vibranium is not a real thing for now. I don't know. And the compressive strength of iron is better, but impact resistance of the cast steel is better compared to cast iron. The cast stainless steel is better of its impact resistant compared to the cast iron. Corrosion, as we just know just now, and wear resistant. Wear resistant is a very subjective topic where it all depending on what application we use the type of metal for. And the cost just cost of cast iron is much cheaper compared to cast steel because it's just iron, and you can get it much more easy. This is the difference between the metal prior to casting iron in a sand mold. This is the difference. Okay, so this is example of the final product. Here is the egg head blade, and here is the handle stick, and you can combine it by various process. And I'm sure my friend already explaining it to you. My question explaining it to you already. So this is the final product.
And then for the optimization, for the joining process, for the riveting part, we can use stainless steel solid rivet to increase strength and durability, and pneumatic solid rivet gun for a perfect heading or deforming of the shank of the solid rivet. This is the solid pneumatic gun. And for the gas metal arc welding is the type of electrode used so that the weld zone is strong and more better than the last one. And for the threaded fastener, stainless steel screw were used and washer to avoid the damage for the rubber grip product. And for the injection metal, for the non-metal forming portion, injection molding is a proper spec sheet for the material. Gap for the clamp should be reduced within section. And that's all. Thank you.
Question and answer session. We will have two questions for casting, two questions for metal forming process, two question for joining process, two question for metal forming process. First, let's begin with casting process. Which of the following is a casting process? Live process casting, thread process casting, high pressure process casting, die casting process casting. The only casting process in this list is D. The answer is D, because die casting process is an actual process compared to the three of it, which just a made up process. Number two is which of the following is a correct statement of low pressure casting? The metal liquid subjected to high pressure and the flow rate is fast. As you can see, this the metal liquid is subjected to high pressure, but the name of it itself is low pressure. Then B is certainly not the correct answer. We go to C, high production efficiency. Low pressure casting is basically a more traditional way of casting process where high production efficiency is certainly not also. And D, suitable for mass production. No, this is certainly not the answer. Then the only left answer is A, crystallize under pressure to form a casting. That is the correct answer for question number 2 for casting process. Then we proceed with metal forming process. What is the turning process? What is turning process? Removing a thin layer of material to provide a smooth flat surface. No. Uh, uh, it's in turning process, or when you're using a lathe lathe machine, you cannot remove a thin layer of material. Uh, I guess not thick because it will broken the tool bit or the workpiece itself, or you can burn the tool bit, maybe wear them off or broken the sharp edge. I done that, and yeah, I know that is bad. Machine in a single pass to produce finishing. No, you cannot finish the turning process in a single pass. It takes times to finish the turning process. That you need yeah, I'm sorry. You do turning process to have the desired diameter, then you have to do a finishing surface, so the surface looks shiny. And see, a single point turning tool move axially. Yeah, when you do this, it move axially, uh not the way around. So the answer is C. And D, a special form tool used to create groove. No, there uh, turning is not a special form tool. I'm sorry, turning process does not require a special form tool used to create groove, and turning process certainly not is not a process to create groove. And question number 2, what is a facing process? Facing process is removing a chunky layer of material to provide small flat surface. Uh, let we fast. What is a facing process? The answer is removing a thin layer of material to provide a small flat surface. Missionary process. During the gas metal art welding process, what affect the quality of the wet zone for gas metal art welding? The answer is A and C, the amount of gas provided during the welding process, and C, the travel speed for the welding time. I'm sorry, I'm confused. Pronunciation. Number 2, what are the filler metal used for brazing process if the base metal is made from magnesium alloy? Uh, I'm not sure about that one, but I think the answer is nickel. Then we go to non-metal forming process. What is the difference between blow molding process and rational molding process? The answer is C. Blow molding process is used to make bottle beverage, while rational molding is used to make trash can. What is the thermoforming process? Answer is it is a process to form a thermoplastic sheet into a mold with heat and pressure.